The 6 queens from episode 2 enter the workroom and notice the first half of the cast standing across from them. The two groups have an intense stare down as they take in their competition.
Camp, 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 ugly, camp. But that one on the end, the bald one, she's pretty. Any questions?
The queens stare for a moment longer before most of them cheer and introduce themselves to one another, describing their drag backgrounds. Kari quickly cuts in, asking the other group how their episode went down and who landed in the top 2. Deoxys and Quasimodo raise their hands, which causes Maximus to bleat out a sharp laugh as he coughs and tries to compose himself. Deoxys asks if there's a problem, and Maximus insists that everything is fine. He just wasn't expecting a queen like Quasimodo to outperform everyone in his group. Quasimodo asks what Maximus means by a queen like him, but Maximus just replies that he can't wait to see Quasimodo's definition of pretty.
I don't want to be the one, but I'm going to be the one. That little troll doll in a wig was in the top 2. Did the other bitches take a nap or break their heels before the challenge?
Great. I haven't even said 2 words to this queen, and he's already trying to come for me. I'm not here to fight, but I really hope Karma catches that horse-faced bitch.
Toph cuts in, telling Maximus that she's still waiting to see his definition of pretty, especially considering that he didn't place in the top 2, but wants to come for a queen who did. Maximus replies that he wishes he'd been in the top 2 with Toph because he would have humbled her snotty ass in the lip sync, and Toph snaps back that she would have slaughtered him on that stage.
Oh my god, these queens are already on each other's necks, and we've only just met some of them. I'm not saying shit, I'm going to sit back and watch the fireworks. I'll let those camera-hungry monsters duke it out while I glide right to the top. Does anyone have some popcorn?
Rogue cuts in, commenting that it's clear Toph won the girl group, but she's curious to know who was in the top alongside her, which prompts number 3 to raise her hand. Deoxys nods, stating that he recognizes 3 from her drag family's performances online and it makes sense that she'd be in the top. Before anyone can respond, Maximus interrupts, asking the queens from the second group if they all agreed with their challenge placements. Terra replies that she agreed with her placement, adding that no one really seemed to disagree with their critiques, and Deoxys states the same. Rogue snorts and pipes in that she disagreed with how the judges critiqued their challenge, insisting that either Ventress or she should have been in the top over Quasimodo.
He had a strong performance, but that runway was a fucking disgrace. Ventress, Aku, and I all did better than him. And one of us should have been lip-syncing against Deoxys for the win. Period.
Quasimodo claps back, stating that the judges could barely remember Ventress's performance and that he clearly deserved his place in the top. Ventress asks Quasimodo what he means by that, and the 3 continue to bicker while the rest of the queens look around at the growing argument with amusement.
Not 3 queens from the same group getting into it already. I mean, I'm living for it, but even if I had a problem with how I placed in the challenge, you can bet your ass I wouldn't cause a scene in front of everyone.
After a few long moments, Deoxys interrupts the bickering and says that he thought Quasimodo did a great job in the challenge, adding that he didn't expect to see himself lip-syncing against anyone else for the win, which earns him pointed looks from Rogue and Ventress. Quasimodo thanks Deoxys before commenting that he's glad at least someone from his group thought he earned his top spot.
I'm not going to let these other queens get to me already. If any of them think that they should have been in the top over me, then screw them. I worked my ass off in that challenge. Pegasus loved what I did, and he's the only one I'm here to impress.
A cold silence falls between the queens from episode 2. The tension is quickly interrupted by a blaring siren as Pegasus's face appears on the workroom monitor.
My gorgeous 12 queens. It warms my heart to see all of you together for the first time. Now, before I let you monsters really sink your claws into one another, I think it's time for a little icebreaker. In the spirit of this week's main challenge, I want you each to give me your best reading of one of the most iconic monologues in cinema history. Miranda Priestley's Cerulean monologue from The Devil Wears Prada. You will each have 10 minutes to prepare, and then it's showtime.
Quasimodo won the mini-challenge and will receive an advantage in the main challenge.
Seeing the look on Rogue and that bald crone's face when Pegasus announced that I was the winner almost made up for losing the lip sync last week. Now I'm just wondering how I can use this advantage to secure another top placement.
My queens, Similar to your monologues, this week's main challenge is going to ask you all to step into the past. The gay interns in the Toon World Studios writers' room have been hard at work, churning out the newest and greatest script for this season's acting challenge. You will all be assigned roles in The Trojan Whore, a drag ode to the epic tragedy that is the Trojan War, but we want you to make it sickening. Quasimodo, as the winner of this week's mini-challenge, you will be tasked with assigning the roles. Tartar ladies, this is your chance to impress on the silver screen, so remember to make the most of it.
Shit.
Quasimodo stands in the center of the room, and the rest of the queens watch as he reviews the cast list.
My approach to picking who gets each role is really simple. I'm taking the role that I want for myself, and then I'm going to give Deoxys and Terra the roles they want since they're the only two who have been nice to me in this competition. These other queens will just have to wait and see what I've cooked up for them. I'm not trying to be the villain, but I want to have a little fun with Ventress and Rogue after this morning.
Quasimodo looks around and promptly declares that he will be taking the role of Paris before turning to Deoxys and Terra and asking them what roles they'd like. Deoxys replies that he'd like to play Zeus, while Terra responds that she wants to be Athena. Quasimodo says that they can have those roles and then starts reading out the remaining characters and quickly assigning them to the other queens. Rogue cuts in almost immediately, asking why only Terra and Deoxys got to choose their parts. Quasimodo turns to her, shrugs, and replies that he won the mini-challenge, so if she has a problem with his assignments, it's too damn bad.
The look on Rogue's face when Quasimodo told her to stick it was priceless. Oh, don't get it twisted, I can't stand that ugly little troll, but even I have to admit he ate with that.
Rogue tries to argue further, but Quasimodo refuses to budge, which causes her to back off. Quasimodo continues down the list of characters, and most of the others seem satisfied with his casting decisions until he gets to Ventress, who exhales heavily when he calls her name. Quasimodo tells her that she'll be playing Aphrodite, and Ventress's eyes go wide, a furious look warping her face.
The goddess of love? You have to be fucking kidding me. No, absolutely not. That role is not for me, and I refuse to let this stand.
Ventress cuts in, stating that she has no desire to play Aphrodite and would instead like to swap roles with Rogue, who was assigned Eris. Quasimodo thanks her for sharing her preferences, but says it's too bad because she won't be getting that role, and Ventress accuses Quasimodo of wanting to see her fail this week. He admits that he would love to see her fall on her busted face, adding that maybe Ventress should think twice before deciding to be a bitch so early in the competition because it'll always come back to bite her in the ass. Deoxys, Kari, and 3 burst into laughter, and Terra tells Ventress that Quasimodo has a point. Ventress snaps at the other queens, telling them to stay out of it, before turning back to shout at Quasimodo, who promptly cuts her off. He clarifies that he wasn't asking if Ventress wanted to be Aphrodite. He was telling her that she will be playing Aphrodite, so she can either learn her lines or waste time arguing and land in the bottom for the 2nd week in a row.
Oh, that little abomination wants to get cute with me. Honey, I don't get cute, I get drop-dead hideous. Quasimodo's going to be the one in the bottom this week. Mark my words.
The queens chat for a bit longer as they review their lines before splitting up to practice with their scene partners. Quasimodo, Eva, and number 3 all stand next to one another at the same workstation, with Quasimodo and 3 falling into an easy dynamic as scene partners. Eva, who has been noticeably quiet since the start of the morning, remains stoic and barely glances at her lines.
I walked into this competition ready to shine, but after seeing how things played out in the first challenge, and with Rita and Maximus in Untucked, I am just not feeling the same drive this week. I am struggling to understand my lines as I read them, and I honestly feel very overwhelmed, but I refuse to let the others see me struggling.
Attempting to make conversation, 3 tells her scene partners that she's really excited to work with them and loves the role that Quasimodo assigned to her.
For this challenge, I'll be playing Helen of Troy. She has a ton of lines, and she embodies this really glamorous camp nature that I can lean into. I might have lied a bit about being excited to work with Eva, though, especially considering that she hasn't looked either of us in the eye since we sat down.
Quasimodo and 3 practice their lines and frequently encourage Eva to join in, only for them to pause when they notice that Eva has started trembling as she reads over her script. Clearly concerned, Quasimodo starts to approach the other queen, but Eva rushes away with her script and walks outside, claiming that she needs air. Quasimodo and 3 look at one another, and Quasimodo says that he's going after Eva. 3 questions his decision, asking if Quasimodo really wants to waste time when he could be preparing for the challenge. He insists that he wants them all to do well in the challenge before hurrying after Eva.
If it was for a different queen, then I'd be right behind Quasi. But after how much of a bitch Eva's been since the first day, I'm happy to let her squirm and see if she can back up all the shit she talked.
Quasimodo finds Eva outside, clearly trying to compose herself, and she jumps when she sees Quasimodo, asking why he followed her. Quasimodo replies that he was concerned when she stormed off, and Eva says that she felt overwhelmed and needed a minute to collect herself before getting back into the challenge. She knows that she can eat up her character, she just needs to avoid any distractions.
My character is Achilles, and he has the second most lines in the entire script. Although it's a very macho role that I think I can perform well, the thought of needing to be a different character and drag is confusing to me. I know that I should be doing better in this challenge, but I am grateful to Quasimodo for checking up on me, even if I didn't want him to.
Quasimodo offers to help Eva with her lines and insists that she needs to participate in the scene if she wants to do well. Eva is silent for a bit before eventually nodding and stating that she'll try. Quasimodo reaches forward, intending to offer Eva a hug, only for Eva to look down at him and warn him not to push it. While Quasimodo and Eva are still outside, 3 looks up from her script and sees Ventress approach their workstation. 3 asks what Ventress wants, and Ventress replies that she was just taking a moment away from the rest of her team to collect her thoughts. 3 nods, only to look up in horror a moment later when she hears the sound of ripping paper as Ventress tears Quasimodo's script into pieces. Rushing over, 3 tries to take the torn script from Ventress's hands and shouts at her to let go. Ventress only tightens her grip, and the 2 struggle over the scraps of paper. Both queens pull, and a final tear ensures that the script is ruined. 3 screams at Ventress and moves closer to the bald queen, who raises her hands in mock defeat before warning 3 not to start shit with her or she'll come for her next. 3 dares her to try, which causes Ventress to laugh as she walks away. Quasimodo and Eva return to the workroom, only for Quasimodo to gasp and run towards 3 when he sees the remains of his script scattered around their workstation. He turns to 3, who have been trying to piece the script back together, and asks what happened. 3 explains what Ventress did, which prompts Eva to move away, clearly intending to confront the other queen before Quasimodo stops her. He insists that although he appreciates her willingness to stand up for him, what's done is done, and they both need to spend as much time rehearsing as they possibly can.
While a part of me would definitely love to see Eva punch Ventress's lights out, we both have bigger problems this week. I'm not going home because of this. I refuse to give Ventress the satisfaction.
Eva nods, offering Quasimodo her script as the trio starts to work on their lines, forming a semi-cohesive unit. Terra, Maximus, Rita, and Toph are reading their lines, with Rita and Maximus quickly bouncing ideas off of one another while a quiet tension builds between Terra and Toph.
I'm trying to focus on the challenge, but these 2 divas have been side-eyeing each other since we sat down, and one of them can't even see. If I fan the flames a bit to see if something sparks, I can't really be blamed, right?
Maximus asks Terra and Toph if they knew each other prior to the start of the season, and Toph replies that although she knew who Terra was, she'd never actually met her, and Terra nods in agreement. Rita asks why the 2 haven't spoken to one another since they met this morning, noting that it seems like they made a point to keep their distance. Terra narrows her eyes, stating that she intends to focus on herself in this competition rather than another queen with a similar brand.
Similar brand. Sweetie, I've been the Earth Diva for a lot longer than you, and I've also done it a lot better than you. But I'll let her continue for now.
Suppressing a grin, Maximus asks both queens if they think that Pegasus is going to be critical of them because their drag is so similar. Toph replies that Terra better hope not because it doesn't take vision to see that she'd come out on top. Terra asks Toph why she thinks it would be so clear-cut, and Toph replies that she was the one to lip-sync for the win on her first episode, not Terra, which causes Rita to chuckle.
I'm reading my lines and wishing I had a cocktail to sip while I watch the show. I can see that Maximus is living for this little spat too, but unlike me, he isn't smart enough to keep reading his script while he stokes the flames.
Maximus stifles a laugh and asks Terra if she's really going to take this from a queen that she just met. Terra eyes Maximus, clearly aware of his intentions, and replies that she's a talented performer and knows that she could give Toph a run for her money, regardless of the challenge. Toph asks Terra if that applies to this week's challenge, adding that she already has a better handle on her lines than Terra.
I really was hoping to keep my mouth shut, practice my lines, and get on with this challenge. We might have similar styles, but if Toph thinks that she's better than me, you best believe she's got another thing coming.
A pointed silence descends over the group, and each queen works on memorizing their own lines, although only Rita and Toph seem to be making any progress. After a short time, Ventress greets Rita and the other queens, asking if she can join them as she finishes going over her lines. Rita and Maximus nod enthusiastically, but Terra asks Ventress why she left her previous workstation. Ventress shrugs and tells Terra that she already knows her lines and did what she set out to do, adding that she can't stand to be around Eva or Quasimodo for another minute. Ventress begins to chat amicably with Rita and Maximus, and Terra and Toph eye her suspiciously for a moment before returning to their scripts. Deoxys, Aku, Kari, and Rogue stand around their workstation, and everyone seems to find a nice rhythm as they go through their scenes together.
You could cut the tension between some of these queens with a knife, but everyone in our little circle seems to be getting along. Deoxys, Aku, and Rogue all have such unique takes on drag, and getting to work alongside them is a lot of fun. Well, mostly. Even though I just met her, I already know that Rogue is kind of a bitch.
Eager to bond with the others, Kari asks Deoxys how long he's been doing drag. Deoxys replies that he's been doing drag for over a decade and was one of the first Pokemon queens to really make a name for himself outside of the Miss Pokemon pageant circuit. Aku asks if Deoxys has ever competed for Miss Pokemon or any other titles, and Deoxys replies that he hasn't, stating that his take on drag isn't really suited for a competition like that.
I'm not trying to be I'm not like other girls of Pokemon, I'm just stating a fact. The queens who compete in Miss Pokemon are sickening, but that glamorous, glitzy pageant style of drag is not for me. Honestly, that aesthetic really dominated Hoenn drag until I crashed onto the scene and shook things up.
Deoxys turns to Aku and asks him how he feels about getting cast on the season, noting that he comes from an iconic cartoon dynasty and is a staple of Neo City's ballroom scene. Aku replies that he's elated to be breaking the glass ceiling for the Bandicoots and to make their presence known on Cartoon Drag Race. Aku's voice cracks when he mentions his drag family, and the other queens pause as he clearly struggles to rein in his emotions. After a long moment, Aku shakes his head and apologizes to the others for crying for no reason.
Not me being the bitch who cries on episode 3. It's just, I've been busting my ass for years trying to get our name out there, and I've watched so many of my sisters work just as hard but get nowhere beyond our local scene. Being here, working alongside such talented queens, it's all just really validating.
Deoxys and Kari move towards Aku, each offering him a hug and a few words of consolation, which helps Aku collect himself. He thanks the others, insisting that their support means more than he can put into words, and then turns back to his lines. He adds that he doesn't want to keep anyone from slaying the challenge because he's boo-hooing over nothing and encourages the group to get back to their rehearsal.
Finally, I thought the waterworks would never end. I like Aku well enough, but I can't afford to be distracted this week, especially after that disaster of a girl group challenge. The only tears that I have time for are the ones that will be falling from the judges' eyes after I give these bitches a masterclass in acting. Who knows? Maybe I'll even earn Toon World its first Emmy.
The group heeds Aku's advice and does a final run through of their scenes. A short while later, production interrupts, telling the queens that it's time to make their way to the main stage. Asajj Ventress slayed the challenge.
I made the goddess of love so terrifying that no one could look away, and I just know that the judges lived for every second of it. I brought my dark beauty to the character and truly left no crumbs with my performance. I shined in a relatively small role, but the real icing on the cake was watching that little rat squirm when he didn't know his lines because of me.
Number 3, Deoxys, Aku, Rogue, Kari, Terra, Rita Repulsa, and Toph had a great performance.
I feel like my Helen of Troy really stood out in my scenes with the other queens. I knew my lines, I knew when to pull the spotlight, and I think that the judges were surprised I painted on a more glamorous mug for the challenge. My heart broke watching Quasimodo struggle though. He really tried, but it's clear that he got in his head after that ball bitch destroyed his script.
Everyone in my scenes had a moment to shine. My Zeus, Rogue's Eris, Kari's Andromache, and Akka's Odysseus all made an impact on camera, and I don't think any of us had an awkward moment. Honestly, we all owe Aku a major thank you for locking in after his little breakdown and keeping us all on task.
My performance as Hera solidified my reputation as the queen of the gods and the queen of the stage. I commanded the judges' attention from the first word I uttered. I was powerful. I was divine. And I showed the other queens how Rita Repulsa rises to a challenge. I can almost taste the wind tonight.
Quasimodo, Maximus, and Eva had a good performance.
Eva tried her best to help me, but I think I just dragged her down. Although we got into a decent rhythm in the workroom, 3 left us in the dust once we got on camera. She tried to help us when we dropped a line, and we all got through the scene, but I could tell that Pegasus wasn't impressed with what I presented on that stage.
I'm absolutely furious with myself. I was so focused on messing with Terra and Toph that I let Rita and Ventress upstage me throughout our entire scene. I missed a few of my lines, and I could tell that the judges were not living for my take on Hector. I'm hoping that my runway will at least keep me out of the bottom 2.
Welcome to the main stage of Cartoon Drag Race Toon World Season 2. Allow me to introduce our esteemed panel of judges. First, she's our resident judge and mother of Toon World. It's My Valentine. Next, we have our special guest judge, trade extraordinaire, and a professional flooder of basements from here to Toontown. Wherever that is, it's Hercules. This week, we asked our queens to bring it to the silver screen in Toon World Studios' newest epic, The Trojan Whore. And tonight on the runway, category is Cyberpunk Babe. Hercules, thank you so much for joining us. Now I just have to say, I was a bit heartbroken to find out that you weren't interested in joining Toon World's pit crew.
It's nothing against you, Pegasus, but once you're on Mother Rue's payroll, you quickly learn not to take certain liberties.
We know a thing or two about that, don't we?
Before my gets us cancelled, let's cut to the runway.
Toph, Rita Repulsa, Rogue, and Maximus slayed the runway.
Tonight on the runway, I'm giving you Cyberpunk Nomad Warrior. I'm wearing fitted leathers that I've airbrushed to look super worn. I've got on these sleek sunglasses, and I have a long, mechanical prosthetic trailing down my neck. I feel very futuristic and tough, and I know the judges loved what I presented tonight.
I'm serving Japanese corporate cyber goddess on this runway. I'm draped in a massive kimono that I've dyed and sewn unique patterns onto to give it a futuristic feel. I'm wearing a massive headpiece that's entirely rhinestoned, and I've truly beat my mug for the heavens above. I feel as powerful and beautiful as any deity, and these other bitches better get out of my way.
I decided to take a risk this week and show off some of these fabulous curves. Christy, Sugar, eat your heart out, because there's a new body tea queen on the scene. I've painted every inch of my body silver and wrapped myself in a fitted outfit made entirely of silk and gauze. I'm giving you fifth element realness. I feel like sex incarnate, and I know that the judges are eating me up.
I told you bitches that my runway was a sleigh, and did I lie? No baby, I didn't. I'm serving you cybernetic warhorse, machine of the future realness honey. I'm absolutely covered in mechanical prosthetics. I can barely see where I'm going through the blinders on this mask, but I can hear the judges screaming with each step I take. Take notes, ladies.
Asajj Ventress, Aku, Deoxys, and number 3 had a great runway.
I'm very proud of my runway. It's giving futuristic Oni ninja, and I'm absolutely rocking this gorgeous half mask while the top of my face is beat for the gods. My bodysuit is cinched so tight that I can barely breathe, and I'm serving up blade choreography with two of the longest swords you've ever seen. The judges couldn't look away, and everything finally feels correct.
I'm serving Dark City Witch Doctor realness on this runway. I've gone with dramatic, tribal-inspired makeup. I've beaten my cheeks so hard they almost bruised, and I feel fantastic. My look is dark, mysterious, and overall just an excellent embodiment of my drag.
I went in a different direction than most of the other queens this week by adding some color to my garment. I shredded several of my stuffed animals, sewed them onto my corset, and tied them together with some metallic wiring that I borrowed from my drag sister, number 1. My look is very cyberpunk meets cuddly couture, and I know that the judges were excited to see something different on that runway.
Terra, Kari, Eva, and Quasimodo had a good runway.
I was excited to show off my cyberpunk warrior look, until I saw that Toph had the same concept. It might not have been intentional, but all I could hear was Maximus saying that the judges would clock us for being too similar. It didn't help that I walked the stage right after Toph and could hear them living for her look. I'm disappointed because I know they would have liked my presentation more if I had walked out first.
My runway is a step up from last week's disaster, but I could tell that the judges wanted more from my futuristic geisha. Although I went all out with my makeup, it's clear that my kimono wasn't anywhere near as elaborate as Rita's. Honestly, it doesn't hold up next to most of the looks on the stage tonight.
When designing my looks for the season, this is one of the categories that I struggled with the most. Science fiction is basically the opposite of my usual aesthetic, and I didn't really know how to translate my drag persona into a cyberpunk theme. I like the garment that I brought, but it's definitely a lot weaker than any of the other looks I made.
Ladies, after seeing your Trojan Whore performances and your Cyberpunk Babe runways, I've made some decisions. Quasimodo, Aku, Maximus, Toph, Eva, Asajj Ventress, and Rita Repulsa. You represent the tops and bottoms of the week. Deoxys, number 3, Terra, Kari, and Rogue. You are all safe and may go untucked backstage.
I'm a bit disappointed in myself for not earning a spot in the top this week. I feel like I shined in one of the hardest roles, but I guess some of the others were stronger. Almost everyone did well, and I'm sure the judges had a difficult time choosing their favorites. I am beyond elated that Maximus is probably in the bottom, though.
Now it's time for the judges' critiques. Aku, please step forward. Mai, start us off.
Aku, I think that you really rose to the challenge of portraying a character like Odysseus. He isn't traditionally funny like some of the other characters, but you still managed to find moments of levity in his scenes while remaining true to his somber nature. My only note for you tonight is that I wish your runway looks were more pronounced. I love what I'm seeing from you, the whole look just needs to be a bit bigger.
What impressed me most about your performance was that you were clearly determined to keep all of your scenes running smoothly. If a queen dropped a line, they looked to you to cover them, and you rose to the challenge flawlessly. I love an old-fashioned queen who shows up to set, knows everyone's lines, and slays. Great job, Aku.
I thought you were phenomenal in the challenge, but I agree with Mai's notes about your look. I would also encourage you to experiment with a bit more color in your garments. Your mug is beat and very vibrant, but the fabrics you chose blended together and didn't really pop on the runway.
All right, Maximus, please step forward.
Maximus, I was really disappointed by what I saw from you tonight, especially knowing that you're an experienced actor. You need to have your lines down pat before you go on stage, and the fact that you couldn't remember what to say even after we gave you several cues tells me that you didn't spend enough time preparing for this challenge. I don't know what got in your way this week, but you need to figure your shit out, and you need to do it fast.
Mai hit the nail on the head with her critiques. Your performance was difficult to watch, and standing out in such a bad way so early in the competition is not the impression you want to make. However, I do want to praise your runway. I think it's much more conceptual than the last look you presented, and it has me intrigued to see how you'd interpret other briefs.
What hurt you most in this challenge is that you were quick to lean on other queens for help, especially Rita and Aku. I know that it's difficult to think straight when you freeze on stage, and you just do whatever you can to get through the scene, but it made you stand out in a really bad and noticeable way. We knew that you were about to miss a line before it was even your turn to speak, which only made your struggles more obvious.
Rita Repulsa, please step forward.
Rita, tonight you brought the captivating energy that was missing from your girl group performance. Your interpretation of Hera was dramatic, camp, and you truly made every moment of your performance memorable. I also thought that you established a really fun dynamic with Deoxys in the scenes you two shared. This was a strong return to form for you, and I hope that you can maintain this momentum next week.
Out of all of the smaller roles in tonight's script, you stood out the most. You knew how to play Hera and lean into her inherent villainous campiness while still remaining regal, feminine, and imposing. You gave a minor role a lot of nuance, and I was very impressed by the depth of your acting.
I really want to highlight your runway tonight because it's by far my favorite look on the stage. It's gorgeous, grandiose, and you look like a peacock strutting through the heavens. I honestly couldn't take my eyes off you. When we cut to commercial, I really hope that you'll tell me who made this masterpiece because I need one in every possible color.
Asajj Ventress, please step forward.
Ventress, tonight you proved that you're probably the strongest actress on this cast. Out of all of the major Greek gods, Aphrodite had the biggest role in the script, and you really managed to put your own spin on the character. Most of us were expecting the traditionally soft and delicate Aphrodite, but you gave her a harder edge that made it seem like she was preparing for war. I was very impressed by your performance.
You really understood the challenge this week and seamlessly adapted your drag persona to the character you were assigned. Both in your scenes and on the runway, you were firing on all cylinders. I do want to issue a general warning though. Remember that a queen who relies on shortcuts to get ahead will eventually be left behind if she does it too often. You don't need to put others down to shine, Ventress.
I was living for your blade choreography on the runway. I like it when queens recognize that presenting their garment is really just another chance to perform for the judges, and you commanded our attention the moment you drew your swords. Everything I saw from you tonight was an absolute serve. Fantastic job.
Eva, please step forward.
Eva, tonight was another difficult night for you, both in the challenge and on the runway. Although I appreciate that you were clearly trying to keep your scene on track and help out when Quasimodo stumbled, you didn't know your own lines well enough to bounce back when things went awry. I think you have a lot of potential, you just keep getting in your own way the second that you're asked to perform for us.
I think that your biggest struggle in this competition isn't something that can be fixed on a challenge-to-challenge basis. You walked into this season with a lot of expectations for yourself and how you were going to be judged because of your drag family. Like Mai said, you have potential, and I can see that you are trying in these challenges, but you need to get out of your own head. Stop trying to uphold a certain reputation and just perform. Who you are outside of this competition doesn't matter. We can only judge you based on what you show us now.
To add some levity to your critiques, I really want to commend your mug this week. Although the kimono garment is lacking compared to some of the other looks, you probably have the best makeup on stage tonight. You know how to beat your face, and I don't think your skills should go unacknowledged. Now, you need to focus on incorporating that same aesthetic into your outfits.
Quasimodo, please step forward.
Quasimodo, you fell into the same trap that catches many queens when they get to decide what role they'll play in an acting challenge. You gave yourself the lead role and expected to be a standout, but when you didn't know all of your lines, you not only fumbled your own performance but dragged down some of your scene partners as well. It seemed like you panicked when you dropped a line and really caved in on yourself, which was uncomfortable to watch.
We've seen it across several cartoon drag race franchises. A queen is in the top 1 week and then falls to the very bottom in the next challenge. It made me sad to see you struggle on stage, Quasimodo. I know that certain forces in the workroom were against you, but in Toon World, you need to make it work, regardless of what happens before your performance.
With regards to your runway, one bit of advice I have is to try and walk with more confidence. The second that you stepped on stage, I could see on your face that you weren't feeling your garment. Instead, it felt like you were begging us with your eyes not to look too closely. Even if you know what you're wearing isn't the tea, I want you to strut like you're the hottest thing at Fashion Week. Command our attention, even if you look a complete mess.
And to cap off the night, Toph, please step forward.
Toph, this week you showed us a side to your drag that I wasn't expecting. Based on your usual persona and the way that you carry yourself, a softer and more regal character like Cassandra didn't seem like it would be a good fit. However, you use the visions that Cassandra receives to build great comedic moments. I thought that your timing was really smart, and you honestly blew me away with your performance.
I mentioned this the last time you were critiqued, and I think it warrants repeating. The way you move and your commanding presence in drag is really what makes you stand out. You're tough, you carry yourself with more gravity than you physically possess, and you're able to pull everyone's attention just by walking into a room. Your runway tonight is stunning, your performance was very strong, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
What really worked in your favor this week is that you were in a lot of scenes and consistently knew when to switch between a supporting and leading role. You recognized when you could steal the spotlight, but also knew how to help your sisters shine and keep the production on track. You really brought it to this challenge and the runway. Incredible job.
Ladies, now that the judges and I have had time to deliberate and share our thoughts with you, I've made some decisions. Rita Repulsa, tonight your Hera really was the queen of the gods. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
I'm very gagged that I didn't earn the win tonight. I made the most of my role, and I know that my runway was one of the strongest on that stage. If Toph somehow gets another win, I swear that I'm going to have such a dreadful headache.
Aku, tonight you kept your team on track and broke all of our hearts as Odysseus. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
Being in the top 2 weeks in a row is just how I was hoping to start this season. This won't be my last time here, though. I'm going to keep slaying these challenges, and you can bet that next week I'm going to snatch my first win.
Toph, tonight your Cassandra brought us all the way to the future. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
I already felt like I'd won when I saw the look on Tara's face after Pegasus announced that she was safe. I told her in the workroom that I was going to outperform her, and I proved that in the challenge. I'm the leading Earth Diva, and if she wants to step to my crown, then she has to do a lot better than this.
Ventress, tonight your Aphrodite cast a dark love spell over us all. Congratulations, my dear. You are the winner of this week's challenge.
Hearing my name called as the winner almost made me pass out. Being the first Star Wars queen to win a challenge on any cartoon drag race franchise is an achievement that no one can ever take from me, no matter how hard they try.
Ava, tonight your Achilles got shot in the heel. I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination. Quasimodo, the judges and I thought that your Paris was more of a supporting character than a leading man. I'm sorry, my dear, but you are also up for elimination. Maximus, this means that you are safe. You may go untucked backstage.
I was prepared to lip sync last week if I needed to, and I can say the exact same thing right now. I like Quasimodo a lot more than anyone else in the workroom, but I'm not going to be the first total drama queen to get pork chopped. It's not going to happen. Sorry.
I'm feeling crushed walking into this lip sync. Ventress's sabotage really knocked me off my game, and somehow I've gone from lip syncing for the win to lip syncing for my life in the blink of an eye. I like Eva, and I think there's a lot more to her than she lets anyone else see, but I'm not going to let her send me home.
The lip sync song is Point of No Return by Expose. Eva had a great lip sync. Quasimodo flopped the lip sync.
Ladies, I have made my decision. Eva, Shantae, you stay. You may go untucked backstage. Quasimodo, my dear, I truly believe that you're only at the beginning of your journey to the top. You just need more confidence to shine like the star I know you are. Thank you for everything you brought to this season.
I guess it's back to the bell tower for this queen.
This is Untucked.
The queens congratulate Ventress for winning the challenge and Eva for winning the lip sync. Both queens thank the group. Number 3, seeing that Eva is clearly on the verge of tears, moves to her side along with Aku, Deoxys, and Kari. The 4 queens take turns comforting Eva, who admits that she's distraught about receiving another round of horrible critiques and sending home her only friend in the competition. 3 insists that she could be Eva's friend, and Kari is quick to follow, which causes Eva to smile. She thanks them both for their kindness and apologizes to the group for her attitude over the past few episodes. Ventress, Rita, Rogue, and Maximus all stand together, chatting amicably and praising Ventress for her win. Maximus offers a small cheer and thanks her for finally sending Quasimodo home. Ventress replies that eliminating that drowned rat in a wig by fucking with his script was one of the best moments of her career, adding that she would do it again in a heartbeat. The 4 continue to bond and nod their heads eagerly when Rita floats the idea of an alliance. Flanked by the rest of the queens, Terra and Toph stand across from one another, and the tension between them is palpable. Clearly annoyed, Terra asks Toph what inspired her runway look and who designed it for her. Toph shrugs, stating that a friend back home made the garment before asking Terra why she wants to know. Terra insists that she was just curious, adding that she couldn't help but notice how similar their runways were tonight. Toph balls her hands into fists and tells Terra that if she wants to imply something, she might as well just say it. Terra replies that she was just making an observation, and if Toph feels some sort of way about it, then that might just be on her conscience. The two fall into a strained silence as the other queens continue to chat around them.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Now remember, be proud, feel free, and live your life, always.